Would you have a look at that? This is one of the ground cover roses. And look at all of the buds. It's like a little spray of buds here. That is going to look spectacular once it's in bloom. My goodness. Well, a good afternoon to you. Yes, it is now afternoon. The morning has gotten away from me and I've just popped outside very quickly before it rains. So we have very cloudy skies today. We've had beautiful weather all week. But the clouds have come today and they do also forecast rain for, I think, the next 4 days, quite heavy rain, which is going to be incredible for the garden. It is also very windy and cold. So now that you've had the weather report, what I thought we would do today, and what I promised you we would do, is my garden gentleman, who helps me out with some of the larger sort of gardening projects with his chainsaw and such, has actually been, and there are quite a few changes in the garden, so the transformations continue. I know we've sort of been on this journey together over the last sort of month or so, sort of transforming the garden for the next season and kind of getting everything ready to. I am in Australia, so I'm actually in winter now, so I'm going to be heading into spring. So I'm really just getting the garden ready, doing all of my sort of heavy pruning and kind of just getting everything sorted, ready for a really incredible spring season in the cottage garden. So what I thought I would do sort of quite quickly before we get rained out is just show you some of those little transformations that he's done, because I'm very, very happy with them. And I'm debating where to start. Maybe we'll start over here. Maybe we'll start with the crepe myrtles. So if you have been subscribed for a little while, and if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying my content. I would love to have you join my YouTube family. But if you have been here with me for a little while, you will know that this is normally a absolutely spectacular red crepe myrtle tree, and it's a deciduous tree, and so it kind of went through its cycle, and obviously, as I've said, we're in winter now, so it had lost all of its leaves, and it was kind of just in its winter display for the last few weeks. But as spring is coming, I have done a really hard prune back, and I got the gentleman who helps me out with the garden, I got him to help me with this, because he was doing kind of a truckload of garden clippings to the refuge centre we have here, where you can deposit sort of large volumes of garden waste. So he was doing that, and I thought while he was there he could cut this one and the other white crepe myrtle, which I'll show you in a moment. But she is all cut and looking gorgeous and ready for the spring season. So just to give you a little close-up, you can kind of see some of the knots where over the last couple of years we have been, regularly pruning it back in winter. But it is no doubt only going to be a matter of weeks before she completely sort of fluffs back out with branches and leaves, and then it won't be too long and we'll be getting some just amazing red blooms on this one. So he came and helped me out with that one. So that is the red crepe myrtle, and I'll show you the white crepe myrtle. So this is the prune back on the white crepe myrtle. It is styled sort of in a standard style. So she has no branches at the bottom, and then she completely sort of grows almost in a dome shape here, and when she is in flower, it is one of the most splendid things. The big white pom-pom flowers that grow are so beautiful, and they're so long lasting as well. And of course in autumn she has all of her autumn colors, and then we've just been through the winter, and yeah, she is all ready for spring. Looking very smart. I cannot wait. The crepe myrtles is one of those things that I find such a magical display in the garden, and not just because of their blooms, but because of how quickly they grow. So I truly do hope that you subscribe, and if you do subscribe, you will be able to see this. I will show you the crepe myrtles over the seasons, but looking at her now, you will not believe how much growth they put on in such a short period of time. It's just such an interesting thing how each of the plants, you know, the speed of their growth. So, you know, in only, no doubt, very few weeks, she will just, I mean, her branches tend to go all the way out and kind of hang over all the pathways, and that the white crepe myrtle is quite a large tree. Again, if you've been around on the channel for a while, you will have seen her in bloom. You would have seen her in all autumn colors, all those sorts of things. But yeah, she is looking very nice, and I was very appreciative of him helping prune these back and then just taking away all the clippings, so I didn't have to worry about that. So he also did that when he was here. And then one of the other things he did, and I have been talking to you about the delivery of the bare root roses. We unboxed them together, we've been planting them up together and all of that. So if you've been following along, you will know there used to be quite a large tree right here. So he has removed said tree. I have to say, I think the vegetable beds here are absolutely loving it. It's definitely allowing a lot more air circulation through, a lot more light in this area. So I think they're going to be so happy now that this large tree has been removed. But now that it has been removed, I can finally pop that Sweet Laguna climbing rose into its forever home here on the fence, and then start it trailing up. So I'm very, very excited to do that. I'm hoping, it does look like it's going to rain this afternoon, but I'm hoping that maybe on Friday, from what the weather is looking like, on Friday I should have a fairly clear morning. So I thought that maybe we would get out into the garden together and plant up this rose, plus tackle quite a number of other jobs. Still trying to get everything ready for spring, so there's no shortage of garden jobs. But he, yeah, removed this, so the rose project transformation is continuing. And just to show you, the other thing that he did was we have started to install these. So these are fence risers, and they just provide a little bit of extra height to the wooden fence. I will say I'm not thrilled with the color difference, but I will show you some of the other risers I've got in another area in the garden in a moment, and you'll see it'll only be a couple of months and these will change color. They'll wear in and they'll soften and they'll become a very similar color to the fence. So it won't be too long, but at the moment the color contrast is quite stark, which I'm not loving. But yeah, not too far away, and they will just blend completely with the fence. So we've got 2 installed, and I am actually really happy with how they're looking. So then what we will do is probably purchase maybe another 3 just to kind of go along here. This here is actually my neighbour's back garden shed. So their house is, I live on a hill, their house is sort of way up over in that corner. You can't see it from here, but that's just their little garden shed there. So it's not a space that they use a lot or anything. But yeah, so we just thought we might just pop a few more of the risers here just to give us a little bit of protection from the shed, to give both of us a little bit of privacy. But also because I have planted the Cinderella climbing rose just down in here, and then what I'm hoping is that she is going to climb up this fence and kind of fill this fence space and then all the way up onto these with just truly magical roses. I've never had climbing roses before, So I'm learning as I go. But yeah, that's definitely one of the bigger projects that I'm working on at the moment, is getting this kind of all set up. So definitely this area is kind of all sorted now. And I did show you last week that she's already getting, so hopefully you can see, this is just her in here, the Cinderella climbing rose. I showed you last week, she's already getting a lot of growth on her, getting ready for spring. So I won't give you a close-up again. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll give you a full August garden tour next week. Maybe that's what we'll do. Hoping to be able to do gardening with you on Friday, and then we might do like a full cottage garden update next week. And I'll give you a close-up again there. I'm sure she will have a lot more growth by that point. But yeah, so that is my vision, that eventually this whole section of the fence is just going to be covered in gorgeous blooming climbing roses, and they'll go all the way up into this area. I think it's going to look magnificent, really. Yeah. And then this here is the Sweet Laguna rose that I was just telling you about. So this one here needs to be placed in its forever home, which is going to be over here. And then we'll just get a few more fence risers for along here, so that when she's in here again, she can kind of grow up and sort of cover this area with really beautiful sort of foliage and flowers and that. And then I've got the utter magnificence of this trumpet vine here. It used to be on a garden arch, but we actually got quite a significant storm last year, I think that was, and lost the arch in the storm. But the trumpet vine is doing so well, even with how it's sort of balled up here. So definitely one of the next projects, actually I was talking about it this morning, you know, trying to come up with some ideas as to what we can kind of do to have this up on the fence. So then you'll almost have, if I step back a little bit, you'll almost have sort of climbing roses all through here, a beautiful pink, and then in the center here you'll have this gorgeous sort of orange trumpet vine. The foliage on the trumpet vine is really beautiful even when it's not in flower. That'll kind of be in this sort of center area here. And then over here again you'll have a really gorgeous pink climbing rose, and I think that that is just going to create just such a charming and just, I mean, I've said it a couple of times, I'm pretty sure, but just magical kind of backdrop here for the kitchen garden. And just, you know, kitchen garden's obviously here, and then we've got the citrus trees, and then just the rest of the cottage garden, being able to have this sort of back wall just full of like stunning blooms. And obviously this is flowering now at the end of winter, and so the roses and the trumpet vine won't be flowering at the same time, but it'll just give that kind of interest throughout the year with the different colors. And yeah, I'm really, really excited, and I'm so pleased to sort of be kind of heading towards the tail end of this project now. As I said, I want to get a few more of these. I want to get this in on Friday, and then maybe do a little bit of research as to what is the best way to kind of train the climbing roses up the fence. Maybe you guys could help me out with that. If you are familiar at all with climbing roses and you've ever grown them up a fence structure, what did you use? I know I've seen like almost like little nails with little hooks on the end. Is that, and that in my head I was kind of envisioning that I could kind of just dot that around on the fence, so that as the branches kind of come up, I would train it around so it will kind of cover this fence structure. There are these posts here, and there is wire along here and down there, so obviously I can add more wire as I go, so that I can train the rows on. But it'll kind of be a bit of a combination, I think, of the wire and then some sort of structure, whether it be sort of like little nails with the little hook on the end into the fence. And I'll probably do that on both sides. But yes, so just overjoyed with that. He's so incredible. I'm very, very lucky to have him able to kind of come out and help me with some of the bigger projects. And You know, sometimes you just need an extra set of hands with things, or they're too heavy, or they're a bit awkward to kind of do by yourself. He's just really, really helpful with that. And very knowledgeable. And so, yes, I feel very lucky that he comes and helps out when he can with some of these larger projects. He probably just shakes his head at all my random projects that I get him to do and all the changes that constantly happen in this garden, but brings me so much joy. But yes, anyway, so they're up. The roses are in. That tree has been removed, so we'll get that in on Friday. So that was a massive project for him to do. That tree was very, very big. And just for a moment, can we just take a moment to appreciate this conifer? How gorgeous is she looking? And how she's just hugging, so like these wooden posts. Look how she's hugging the wooden post. Gosh, she's loving that position there in the garden. Just in that back corner. I'm so happy with that, how that's worked. This conifer actually got repositioned quite a number of times in the garden. She just wasn't happy in all the places that, you know, that she was tried. She was, you know, dying and just not happy. And then popping her in this very awkward back corner here, she's just absolutely shot up and is clearly loving life here. Just a very nice backdrop, I think, for the kitchen garden. And I can really clearly see it, you know, having the roses up here, and then even when they're not in bloom, I think it'd be really pretty to have that rose structure and the rose leaves up on this fence. But when it's in bloom and the fragrance of the roses, the two roses, the Cinderella and the Sweet Laguna, are fragrant roses. So and they're repeat flowering, and I can't wait. Fingers crossed that it works the way that I'm wanting it to. This is very much an experimental project. I've done the best I can with making my selections and, you know, trying to bring my vision to life, but I'm definitely not a garden expert at all. I'm a complete novice and learning as I go. So this will definitely be a learning experience for me. And then the other things, the other big changes, if I take you down here, just stop off for a moment and I'll show you how the lace cap hydrangea is going. We're getting all the little petals starting to come out. They've got this gorgeous blue, sort of blushed, almost blue tinge on the outside. The blue is a little bit more vibrant in person than what it's coming like on camera. But we've got lots of little flowers here starting. Now, we had one kind of disaster, I suppose. You will remember this is night jasmine, these plants here, and up until the other day, this used to actually grow all the way up and over in a natural kind of arch. As you can see, that is gone. Actually, I will try and find a photo of what it looked like before, and I'm going to put that on screen now just so you can kind of see what it did look like. Okay, and this is obviously what it's looking like now. So when my gardener came, we were trying to kind of take off, as you would have seen in that photo, there was just a lot of growth that was going straight up, and I kind of wanted to tidy up that curve a little bit. But unfortunately, when we took out this growth here, it did actually take out quite a number of the really thick branches, and it kind of ruined the structural integrity of the natural arch. And so once we sort of took out this foliage on the side that was sort of going out, this natural arch sort of sagged down and was hanging right over the path, and you couldn't walk through or anything. So the very, very tough decision was made to just kind of cut our losses and just take that off. So the night jasmine has had an incredibly brutal prune back. Night jasmine is a very hardy plant in my garden and in my climate zone, so it will not be long at all before this is completely full of plants again and I'm having to hedge it back. But now that the natural arch has been lost, I probably I'll probably just move on from that, and I'll try and keep this night jasmine kind of around this height. I might actually take out some of these thick branches a bit lower so that when it grows back I can kind of maintain the soft new growth just by hedging it easily, and I don't need a chainsaw. But what that has done with losing that arch, it has actually allowed way more light. I'm just going to go a little bit closer. I don't know if it comes across on camera. It's a really cloudy day today, so you're probably not seeing it, but it has allowed so much more light all the way through here, and as well as into the kitchen garden. It's now getting way more sunlight, which I think my vegetables are going to be very happy with. It's also impacting on like the citrus over here, and it will impact on the roses. All of these sort of plants like a lot of sun, and the night jasmine was, you would have seen in that photo, it was massive and it was really sort of blocking the light, particularly in the afternoons, from this area. So I am truly sad to see it go. I really loved that natural arch shape that it had going all by itself, but it was no one's fault. It was just the structural integrity just wasn't there. There was no supports or anything. And so, you know, when we took out a few of those really large branches that need to be removed, unfortunately, yeah, it was an unfortunate casualty. But just to give you a bit of a close-up, she's looking a little bit sad. But as I said, it'll only be a couple of weeks before I'm having to get the hedge trimmers back out to maintain that height. I definitely think I want to have a bit of a ponder about in future whether I actually really did like having like an arch in the garden. I thought that was quite pretty. But whether there's a better place for that in the garden, you know, that's not going to block a bunch of light for the plants. I don't know. It's definitely something I'll have a bit of a think about, you know, with one of these pathways, whether I do end up putting an arch over it. Yeah, something to ponder. The other big thing that he did while he was here is he got out his slashing blade, and this area here, I probably have not shown this to you very often. So this area here is unfortunately not a very heavily used area of my garden, as you can see. And it had filled to the brim with weeds. So he's kind of just gone through and used his sort of slashy blade and felled all of the weeds here. So we're getting this sort of carpet of weeds that will kind of take a few weeks to kind of break down in this space. And I have quite a significant project in mind that I am really excited about, and I've been doing a bit of research on and a bit of planning and ringing and getting quotes and all sorts of things for what I'm going to do with this area. Now, I'm going to be one of those really annoying people, and I'm actually not going to share with you what I'm planning. I think it's going to be really fun to do it together. So once I get a bit closer to starting to develop this area and I get a bit further along in the process, then I will discuss it with you. But I just want to show you what he had done and kind of show you this space at this point, just so you can kind of see like those really good transitions and transformations in the garden. I think that's something that I really enjoy, watching how people's gardens evolve over time. And I mean, a garden is never done. It is always evolving, you know. Nature itself is always making you evolve. You know, storms come through and you lose plants, or you get heat waves and you lose plants, too much rain, and so new things always go in, things always have to change. So it's always adapting, it's always evolving. And I think that's one of the really incredible, amazing things about, you know, if you're someone who enjoys gardening, and even if you don't have a garden like this, that's an outdoor garden, even if it's just a little tiny collection of pots in your kitchen window or on your balcony, or you've got, you know, a very small sort of little patio garden or something, it's always evolving. And, you know, I'm sure you all have new ideas and things, and yeah, I think it's just one of those really incredible things about gardening that I enjoy. But yes, so I had promised that I would share with you all the little bits and pieces that he got up to while he was here. And so that is that. He did He did remove a couple of other plants from some pots, but I might show them to you when we do the full garden tour. We just replanted some pots outside the dining room area, which look really good. I think we purchased together actually the little Peter plants last week maybe, or the week before. Those have been planted now, but I'll show you that in the full garden tour that we do next week. But given that it is quite possibly about to rain, because it is looking very, very ominous over here, I might bid you farewell. I don't think with this weather today I'm going to get out into the garden, but I am very, very hopeful for Friday. At the moment, the weather forecast is saying that it should be okay in the morning. So I will probably see you on Friday. We're going to head out to the garden. I want to definitely fertilize. I want to get the rows in. I need to cut some of the vines off the pumpkin. I've got a little list of things to do. So we will spend Friday together tackling those tasks. So until then, thank you so much as always for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.